Assalamualaikum students. So let's begin with the practice question for February-March 2022 9706 Qp-32 question number 5 for standard costing. So as you can see the question here that there is one product, the budgeted units were 1000, the budgeted information and the fixed overheads to be absorbed on the basis of direct labor hours, and the actual units were more than the budgeted units. So for 5 marks we have to prepare the flex budget. So, and here we are provided with the actual results as well. So let's make a working first. Working one. Budgeted. So sales, direct material, direct labor, fixed overhead, and budgeted profit. So sales are 250,000, TN is 60,000, direct labor is 100,000, and fixed overheads are 24,000. So together they make a profit of 66,000. So the number of units. So these are budgeted for the units, 1000 units. So to get the individual price per unit. So the selling price per unit is 250. The direct material per unit is 60. The same way the direct labor 100,000 divided by 1000, and fixed overheads this. So these are the per unit cost. And for the flex budget, if I write here, flex budget. So for flex budget, the units we are going to use are the actual units, because flex is based on actual units, which are 1120. And the per unit rate. So the per unit rate, as we calculated, the budgeted per unit. This is all budgeted unit. So sales for 1120 units per unit rate is this. So amount. So actual units multiplied by per unit rate. This is in negative, this is also in negative, and this is also in negative. So together they make a budgeted profit of 73,920. So it's flexed budgeted profit. So for 5 numbers we had to do this working. Then moving on to part B. So part B state what is meant by the term variance analysis. So if I go to my question number 5 for March 21, which I solved in a previous video. So as we can see that we have written this answer already, that variance analysis is the difference between the budgeted, let's make it more, budgeted amount and the actual amount. This analysis helps you maintain control over cost for the entity, and we are able to analyze the favorable and the adverse variances. So any of the basic information will work for this. So we got our 2 marks. Then for part C. So So for C, we have to calculate the following variances for 1 mark. So number 1, sales price variance. So how do we calculate the sales price variance? For that, we have the budgeted selling price, which is 250 as calculated above, then the actual sales price. So what is the actual sales price? See, we are given the actual sales data for 1120 units. So for that, I would make a working over here. Working. Let's make the working above because we have the figures here for budgeted. So I would add columns here. Now working to actual. So the actual figures are 277,760, negative 72688, negative 128,520, and for fixed overheads 25,600. So the profit, actual profit 50952. The actual units are 1120. So actual rate per unit. So for sales, it's 248. So if we would go here, the actual selling price equals to, if we go here, see 248. So if we would calculate the difference, budgeted was this and actual was this. So we assume that we would sell it at a selling price of 250, but instead we sold it for 248. So a loss of rupees 2 loss, and the number of units 1120. So this multiply by this. So adverse variance, adverse sales price variance. So we got our 1 mark. Then C2, sales volume variance. So for sales volume variance, we have to calculate the volume. So budgeted units were 1000 and the actual units were 1120. So we have sold 120 units more than what we predicted. So it will give us a favorable unit. So at what rate? That's the question. So we always use the budgeted selling price. So this multiply by this. Let's show it in negative, adverse. So this will give us a favorable sales volume variance. Then number 3, direct material total variance. So if I go back to my question 5 for March 21, so we can see that we solved it here, that direct material variance was material price variance plus material usage variance. And now we are required to calculate it as a whole. We don't have to calculate both of the things. So for this, we can simply take the actual cost, which is 72688 minus the flexed cost we calculated $67. So this will give us $5488 adverse variance. See, the actual cost was this, but we calculated on the basis of flexed cost. Sorry. So this is the flex budget. So see, direct material 67,200 and the actual was 72688. So in actual, the price was greater than the flexed. So if you go down here, so 72688 minus 67,200, an adverse variance of 5488. Then part 4, direct labor total variance. So for this, we would subtract the total cost. So the actual labor cost was $128,520, and the flex cost was $112,000, and we end up with an adverse variance of $16250 adverse variance. So going back to here, the actual labor cost was 128,520 and the flexed was 112,000. So we have calculated the direct labor total variance. Then number 5, fixed overhead total variance. So for this, the same method. So the actual cost was 25,600 and the budget, then the flex was the flex was 26,880 and the actual was 25,600. See, the actual cost is lower than the flex. The flexed cost is higher, the actual cost is lower. So that's why I haven't written the actual cost over here. Otherwise, you will ask me that why I have written actual here, and now here I am keeping the flex cost before. So this would give us a favorable variance of 1280. So how many marks have we covered? 5 plus 2, 7, and 7 plus 5. 12 marks easily gained. Then moving on to part D. D1. Calculate the two variances which combine to give the direct material total variance. So as we have seen here, that the direct material variance is material price variance plus material usage variance. So material price variance. So for that, we need the budgeted price and the actual price. So here, if you see the data, we have to calculate the number of standard usage per unit. So going back to the question and seeing the budgeted information. So direct material $12 per kilo for 60,000. So, and it is estimated cost for 1,000 units. So if I would calculate the standard usage, standard usage per unit. So 60,000 divided by 1,000 units. So it would give us $60. And 12 per kilo divided by $12 per kilo. So equals to 5 kilos. Simple calculation, 60,000 divided by 1,000 units, so $60. And $60 divided by 12 per kilo, so 5 kilos. We estimated that we would be using 5 kilos. And the actual usage, so if I go to the actual data, we have direct material 11.80 per kilo for 72,688. So how many kilos? To avoid any confusion, I will ask my question, how many kilos? So for actual usage, we have 72,688. And what's the cost per kilo? Divided by $11.80 per kilo equals to 6160 kilos. Now we can calculate the direct material price variance. So for material price variance, direct material price variance. So the budgeted is $12 and the actual is $11.80. So in actual price is less and the budgeted price is higher. So this will give us a favorable unit. And how much units, kilos have we used in actual? 6160. So into 6160 kilos equals to $1232. Favorable price, just write favorable. I would bold it. Then we have to calculate the direct material usage variance. For that, see, in actual, how many kilos we have used? 6160 kilos. And for budgeted, how many? 5 kilos. Into units, actual units. We always take the actual units. So in actual, we used 6160 kilos and we budgeted 5 kilos per unit into 1120 actual units. So we would get it multiply by the standard, the budgeted price, which is $12 per kilo. So into $12. So this would give us our answer as equals to bracket 6160 minus bracket open 5 multiplied by 1120 multiplied by 12. So 6720 adverse variance. So six one two zero 6720 adverse variance. And if we check the total variance, total DM variance for a check. So 1232 minus 6720. Okay, so 1232 minus 6720. So 5488. And if we go above and check, see 5488 adverse variance, and here also 1232 favorable and 6720 adverse. So 5488 checked. Then going back to the question, then explain the likely causes of the variances. So here in question 5, March 1. So we got an adverse price variance. So the reason which might have been that the price of material may have increased because we got the adverse variance. Here, if we see the price variance is favorable. So what would be the reason? The reason would be, or the reason could be that the price, if we can see that there's a reduction in price, the price per kilo has been reduced due to discounts given by supplier because of the large orders, or we have found a cheaper supplier. Any of the reason you can write why the price per kilo was reduced. Then the reason for this usage variance. Reason for usage variance. So the reason for the usage variance to be adverse. So more material has been used, because if more material is being used, then there would be an adverse variance. So why? Why more material was used? Because of lower quality, See, we can correlate it with that the price was reduced and we are getting at a cheaper, so we have found a cheaper supplier. So if the supplier is giving us a cheaper product, so then the quality of the product would be lower because of lower quality due to the lower price of the materials. Simple. So we have obtained our 4 marks for each. And you can write more as well. Then final additional information. In July, while had adopted a new strategy to increase sales by reducing the selling price, advise the director of whether or not the company should continue the strategy in the long run. So